This card single-handedly brought back Traitor Ace Theory. Everyone has been talking about it non-stop on Twitter. Your fave card is iconic because the art is pretty. Mine is iconic because it brought back a theory from the dead. We are not the same. Hi Neil, and welcome back to another theory video. Today I'm going to be explaining the Traitor Ace Theory and explain why it's come back. This theory is honestly pretty nebulous, so heads up, this video is going to be all over the place. A TLDR version of this theory is that Ace is going to betray the MC at some point. I can hear you're saying, Mari, that sounds vague, and yeah, it is. It's very vague. I would honestly call this theory like an umbrella term that can be specific, but it encompasses a lot of things. I've seen a lot of different interpretations for this theory and how it will play out. I've seen some people say Ace is going to betray you intentionally. I've seen others say it will be unintentional and or he's tricked into doing it. There's a lot of room to play around with this theory, and thus, really the only connecting tissue to a lot of these theories is Ace and betrayal. This was a theory that came about very early on in the Japanese side of the fandom. The earliest mention I could find of this was actually an art TikTok from ame_0919, who just used it for their art. That dates to May 5th, 2020. It doesn't explain the theory, it's just a tag they used, so the idea of Ace being a traitor predated that. The first instance I could find of the actual theory or someone explaining it is fellow YouTuber Yurin, who made a video on this theory on May 7th, 2020. I can't find the very first person who posted about this, so this is as far back as I could find. On the English side of things, the first person I could find that talked about this theory was Tumblr user LunarRen, who without them, that little deep dive into who posted first would have been impossible. On June 28th, 2020, LunarRen made a text post going over the tweets they saw about this theory and translating it basically. They also provided the original hashtag, Ace Uragiritoshi. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not actually sure if that's how you read it. But anyway, that hashtag is what I used to track down the posts that I talked about just now, since I didn't know the actual Japanese term going into this. However, I couldn't really find a lot of tweets with it, so I don't know, maybe I made a typo, maybe the tweets are gone, maybe the accounts are like privated now, but I just couldn't find anything else. So what's our evidence for this theory being a thing? Mostly his name and his whole character, basically. Trappola is an Italian card game, and the word itself means trap/cheat/fraud, so we're off to a great start. In this game, the ace is the highest card, not the king. People posit that this means Ace has a lot of plot importance, and he isn't just one of you's best friends. There's also a lot to be said about Ace himself. He's very smart, he's good at lying and trickery, as we've seen with his magic tricks, and let's face it, he can be kinda two-faced. Just take his first interaction with you. He acted chill and then was like, hey, you know what would be fun? Being a bully. Cringe. The general idea around this theory being true and him intentionally betraying you is that Ace's name is interesting, and given his penchant for deception, he could easily trick you into doing something they shouldn't, or just tricking them in general into thinking he's a friend when in reality, he does not have their best interests at heart. Names have meaning in Twisted Wonderland and it plays into their character, so Ace having a name that means trap might mean he's not the best friend we think he is. But like I mentioned before, there's a subset of this theory that Ace will betray you unintentionally, that he himself will be tricked into screwing them over. Ace is smart, but as we've seen, he's pretty loyal to you. I could easily see him getting tricked into doing something that will hurt you if he's led to believe it will actually help. But in my opinion, this is a double-edged sword, because while Ace's loyalty is the best motivation for him getting tricked into a betrayal, I think it's also the strongest evidence for him not betraying you. Ace and you might not have started on the best foot, but he's very loyal to you and cares about them, although he's not great at showing that. Recall in Book 1 when Riddle insulted you by pointing out their lack of magic? Ace's immediate reaction was to throw a punch at Riddle. He also tries comforting you about their lack of magic, like, he loves you, whether it's platonic or romantic is up to you. And it's this loyalty that I think would stop him from doing anything to intentionally hurt you. They're friends, and the last thing he'd want to do is hurt them. And as time has gone on, we've seen their friendship develop more and more. It just feels less and less likely that he would betray you intentionally. I've been with this game since before it released, and I've played both versions since their respective launches. When the game first dropped in Japan, Traitor Ace Theory was everywhere, and it was super popular. And I don't mean popular as in, like, everyone believed it, because not everyone did. But popular as in, like, a lot of people knew about it, and there were quite a few discussions on it. However, as the game and time have gone on, it got talked about less and less and kinda died down. At least with my part of the fanbase I interact with the most, maybe it still stayed alive in other circles, I don't know. I just haven't seen in a really long time. Honestly, when EN released, I didn't see anyone talking about this theory. It just died sometime after JP's release. And then, a couple days ago from the writing of the script, well, the initial writing of the script, it came back from the grave. In case you didn't know, JP is on a way different birthday schedule than EN. Our birthday cycle starts with Jamil, unlike EN who starts with Kate. And obviously, we're a cycle of cards or two ahead depending on the time of year. We're currently on to our 4th year birthday cards, which are the Platinum Jacket cards. These cards are incredibly interesting because while it's showing us who's twisted from what, allegedly, it's also showing animation stills from the OG Disney movies with characters that are connected to whatever twist birthday boy. Now, when I started the script, we'd only gotten 2 of these cards, so we were still trying to figure out all the connections. And to be honest, I still think there's some room for debate on what those connections are, even now we've gotten, a lot more of them. The Disney canon references for Jamil were Jafar, Iago, and a joint picture of Aladdin and Jasmine. So people figured those represented the OG inspo, a similar character, and then a foil. But then we got Ace's card. He has the card soldiers, the Queen and King of Hearts, and the oysters from the Walrus and the Carpenter segment of Alice in Wonderland in his card art. This fucking card single-handedly brought back Traitor Ace theory. Everyone has been talking about it non-stop on Twitter. Your fave card is iconic because the art is pretty. Mine is iconic because it brought back a theory from the dead. We are not the same. I can't do that with a straight face. Now, people are looking at the Walrus and the Carpenter and thinking Ace might have some connection to the Walrus or the oysters. Originally, the poem The Walrus and the Carpenter was in the novel Through the Looking Glass, which is like the sequel to Alice in Wonderland, but the Disney team decided to use it for their adaptation of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Apparently, there was originally a Jabberwocky scene planned out, but it got scrapped for the Walrus, which, not gonna lie, that makes me kinda mad. Anyways, the poem isn't super long, and it's linked down below if you want to read it, but just to summarize what happens, a Walrus and a Carpenter are wandering the beach when they find some oysters. They ask them to join them for a walk, but the eldest oyster says no. The younger ones, however, follow along. The Walrus and the Carpenter trick the oysters and end up eating them all. This is an incredibly weird choice for Yana to make, but most everything in Twist has a purpose, so it's like, okay, what's the connection? People have always made connections between Ace and Alice, and given Jamil's card showing Aladdin and Jasmine, I think all of us were expecting to see Alice and Ace's card, but no. It's the oysters. And because everyone is confused, we're trying to guess, is Ace supposed to represent the oysters who get tricked, or the Walrus who does the trickery? I want to sit here and tell you that Jamil has no connection to Aladdin or Jasmine, so their inclusion in his card must indicate he's the opposite of them. That would give us a clear-cut answer for Ace being connected to the Walrus or the oysters, but here's the thing. Jamil does have some connections to both Aladdin and Jasmine. Jamil wants to improve his social standing like Aladdin, he wants to escape his current life like Jasmine. It's not like there's no similarities. So with Ace, there's this question of does he represent the oysters, or is this an opposite sort of situation? Because unfortunately, both interpretations work well with almost every aspect of Traitor Ace theory. He could be like the Walrus and tricking you into something not great for them. He could be like the oysters being tricked into doing something not really great. It's now January as I'm editing this and writing this new section, and guess what? Things are even more vague. We have the personal story now, and Ace talks about the Walrus and Carpenter painting at the very end of the vignette. To quote Tumblr user Mystery Shop translations of it because I don't have this SSR, ahem. Whoa, it's a painting of the Walrus and the oysters. Looking at it here, the Walrus really looks like a proper gentleman. I bet those oysters were also tricked by how the Walrus looked. Can't help but feel sorry for them. Heh. Hey, Tenandayo, what do you mean, heh? What the hell does that mean? This card brought back Traitor Ace theory, and then gave us that? It doesn't help because there's the running theme of appearances are deceiving in the vignette, like, Yana, please! I was straight up so irritated writing this that I forgot to make my point. So editor Mari time. In my opinion, his dialogue would imply he's supposed to be more like the Walrus, but what's tripping everyone up is that the painting isn't just of the Walrus. In fact, the painting we see doesn't even have him in it. It's also the oysters, and since Jamil had a connection to both Aladdin and Jasmine, are the oysters also connecting back to Ace and it's foreshadowing something and just not being talked about? I think it's a fair argument to make, so it still feels like each side got more evidence for their respective argument. In the end, we're still trying to figure out the deal with the Platinum Jacket cards. I think for better or for worse, the inclusion of the oysters is adding more fuel to the fire on all sides of the theory. It gives a point of evidence for all sides of people interacting with this theory, which on one hand, cool I guess, but on the other hand, it is a little infuriating, not gonna lie. Like, things are still vague and it just gave points to both sides, so it's not like one thing has more weight than the other. Because of how broad this theory is, I've had to do a lot of digging and also thinking about how this theory could play out if true. And honestly, I think I found some very interesting points. However, I'm going to discuss them over in part 2. That's right, this video is 2 parts. You've been had. No, I know some people are probably just here to, hear me explain what the hell this theory is and they're not really invested in it. So I didn't want to make this video, an hour long with everything included, since the next video is part theory, part video essay. If you'd like to hear my personal take on the Traitor Ace theory and a way I think it could play out, meet me over in part 2. If you're a channel member, part 2 is already up. For everyone else, I'll be releasing it next week. And if you're watching this 2 weeks after I post this, it should be available. So yeah, I guess you guys don't have to wait. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all a little later. Thank you everyone for watching, and a very special thank you to my channel members and Twitch subs. Your support helps me to continue to make these videos. If you'd like early access to my videos, consider becoming a channel member. Patrons and Ko-fi members can get my scripts early before I record them. I livestream over on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thanks again guys, and I'll see y'all later.